Hi, my name is Blinder Hill. I'll be your host today for Tech Talks. Thank you for joining us and welcome. I would like to introduce our panel today. We're going to start off with Mr. Chris Stewart, who is the Chief Information Officer with the City of Austin's Communication and Technology Management Department. Next up, we have Mr. Melvin White. He is our business owner here who has been successful with Texas DIR, and he's been on both sides of the coin as far as business owner and employee. He is with MRSW Management. Welcome, Melvin. Next up, we have Texas DIR, which is Department of Information and Resources. We have a lot of questions. A lot of you are always asking about Texas DIR and how you can be involved. And we have Mr. Tom Hay here today. He's going to talk to us a little bit about DIR and what they're doing. And last but not least, we have our Mr. Al Saria. He is with Austin Energy. He has been with Austin Energy in the IT and the tech firm, the technology forum for quite a while. And we're lucky to have him on our panel today. Welcome, Al.
Thank you.
All right, thanks. So there's a couple of us on here, so we're gonna try to mute unless we're talking, just to kind of avoid any feedback or anything in the background, okay? And I'll just let you know before I call on you so that you can have time to unmute. We're gonna just start off with a little bit about just going around and talking about our organizations and some of our organization's priorities when it comes to IT. Chris, we'll get ready to start with you, but just talk to us about the city, their priorities, and what they're doing as far as technology and IT.
Well, thanks, Blender. Yeah, my name's Chris Stewart. I'm the CIO for the City of Austin. My department's called Communications Technology Management. So we're basically the centralized IT for the City of Austin. That said, we do have quite a bit of IT that exists in our departments. And some of our larger departments have significant IT, to include Austin Energy. We have Al Saria here. The City of Austin we're a bit unique and lucky that we have so many different departments of varied interests and needs. We have a water utility, an electric utility, a convention center. We support all of our public safety and about 40-something other departments. So the needs vary tremendously. That's great in the IT world because it gives us a lot of different opportunities. There's not one specific area of IT that we're looking for. We look for a lot of need there, and we're very business focused. So an understanding of the various businesses helps out quite a bit when we're looking at IT needs. Some of the things that we're doing are the same things a lot of people are doing. We're taking a look at our tech debt. So we're taking a look at what do we have out there that really needs to be enhanced and modernized. Modernization is very, very important for us to keep up. We're looking at automation. What are ways that we can better serve our citizenry and the residents of Austin? We really want to look outside of just how we support departments, but how do we support the residents of Austin, Texas? Digital services is a big avenue there. I think this past couple of years has shown the dire need to reach our residents in many different ways. So the ability to be able to reach out and have those communication skills and just the various skills that we utilize throughout the city of Austin. Security obviously is a big one. You're going to hear that no matter where you are. We have incredible security needs and a lot of compliance that's required depending on where you are. If you work for generalized CTM, you're going to need to understand compliance. If you work for Austin Energy, you're going to need to know about FERC. You're going to need to know about HIPAA if you're at health, CGIS if you're supporting public safety. So there's a lot of need, but when there's a lot of need, I think there's a lot of opportunity. So we have no end of need and opportunity for technology-focused individuals.
Okay, thank you, Chris. So you mentioned Austin Energy and what's going on with Austin Energy. So Al, we're going to go to you next. Tell us a little bit about what's going on in Austin Energy, where you guys are, where your priorities are now.
So with Austin Energy, and we very much align with a lot of the items that Chris mentioned. So we are the city of Austin municipal electric provider, and so we're somewhat unique in that way. And so in a world where you see a lot of investor-owned utilities, we're still one of those public-owned utilities. And so very much we balance kind of that, how do we provide governmental type services with, how do we have to run, in essence, like a business, since we are considered one of the enterprise departments of the city of Austin. But like Chris, we are looking at the issues around really technology affordability. I mean, the world is now changed in a way. I started 35 years ago in a mainframe shop at the University of Texas. How technology was planned, architected, designed, built, delivered, and supported very much is different today. I think we find that our end users are much smarter about how technology is used. They want to be much more empowered in terms of how they can use technology. And so kind of in the areas of productivity, compliance, risk, and cost, we do a lot of our planning work trying to figure out how do we address all those needs while looking at the triangle of people, process, and technology, and where are the win-wins there. But I'll admit, as Chris said, cybersecurity seems to be a thing in this day and age that I can tell you most of the meetings I seem to go to these days are less about the development of technology, more about now the protection of technology, and especially being an electric utility. A lot of the teaching I'm doing to the younger staff is much more balanced now between cyber, what do we have to know about cyber protection? How do we balance it in an interdependent motivational polarity balance way with how fast can we develop technology, yet we have to keep it safe, compliant, and at the lowest risk possible. Thanks, Blender.
All right, thanks, Al. Tom, next we're going to get ready to go to you. Can you tell us a little bit about who Texas Department of Information Resources is, and a little bit about the organization and how you guys set priorities at DIR?
Sure, no problem. Glad to be with you all today. So the Texas Department of Information Resources is actually a state agency, and we were created in 1989, and our main purpose is to serve as the Chief Information Office for the state of Texas. And we offer a wide variety of different programs that our eligible customers can take advantage of through DIR's product offerings, through cybersecurity services, through other offerings, cybersecurity training requirements. And we are involved in many different areas in which we help the constituents of the state of Texas, including our eligible customers, to buy their IT products and services, maybe through our contract offerings for their entities. So we negotiate and put contracts in place with vendors in the vendor community where our eligible customers, such as state agencies, local governments, school districts, institutions of higher ed, and other eligible entities, can procure products and services through our contract offerings. We also take care of the technology planning and reporting for the state of Texas, report that to the Texas legislature on a regular basis, knowing what's going on, helping set IT standards for the state of Texas, also being a resource to our eligible customers and helping them set IT standards for their entities as well. We are also charged with keeping the state safe. And as Chris and Al had both mentioned, cybersecurity and everything related to it is a very, very hot issue.
Okay, thanks, Tom. It looks like we lost Tom there. And
so we are charged with making sure the state is.
Okay, guys, it looks like we're having a little bit of technical issues with Tom's connection right now. Tom, thank you for that. I am going to go to Melvin next. Melvin, I just wanted to ask you, from the perspective of a business owner, from the perspective of someone who has worked with DIR as for your for-profit, and you work with helping people and economic development and employees and stuff in your nonprofit and for-profit now. Tell us kind of what you see and what you need and advice for business owners from your perspective.
Well, thank you, Blender. First of all, I think when you're talking about starting a business, you have to try to identify a problem and see if you're able to provide a solution. So in 1999, we started this company focused solely on two things: creating diversity in the IT space, and two, how to create empowerment in underserved communities. So, what I think from a standpoint of we wanted to build human capital. So, in Austin, back in that time, the state, it was very difficult for them to compete against the private sector. So, we thought that we could help provide a value proposition to municipalities as well as government entities by being able to create human capital in the IT space where people could build their skills so that they're able to add value. So, in addition to that, we needed a vehicle to do that. So, we presented some things to DIR. We had a Go Direct contract with DIR for internships, to where people could build their skills, and those people had an opportunity to become full-time employees with these governmental entities. And two, they essentially was building their resume. So if they wanted to go to the private sector, they could do that. And if they wanted to stay in the public sector, they could do that as well. So as a business, really understanding the different platforms and what government was running. And we actually created training components in those areas, from telecommunications, network support, database application. We had an Oracle Academy, a Cisco Academy, a Lucent Technology Academy, Microsoft Platform Academy, to be able to provide certifications to individuals. So that was kind of the gist of how we created, and the city has been a great partner to be able to allow us to establish that platform. We work with both general fund departments as well as enterprise departments as well, and been very enriched and appreciative of being able to add solutions for government entities as well as helping build skill sets in the individuals looking to enter into the IT space.
All right, thank you. And that brings me to my next question. For the non-techs who are out there, I'm one of them. I wanted to just ask you all one question, and that is, what is staff augmentation? We hear a lot about it, and I hear a lot about it in the tech space. But if you guys could define that and let me know if that's just for techs or techs and non-techs. And who wants to try to go ahead and start with that? Al, go ahead. And anybody?
I can give you the perspective from almost 25 years at Austin Energy. And actually, not many people know that I actually started at CTM as a consultant before I joined Austin Energy. And so this was before the turn of the century, actually. So, but from the standpoint of what is staff augmentation, if you look at how an IT organization operates, it really comes down to, and you don't have to be a techie to understand this, it comes down to understanding the equation of demand and supply. And so what we have is we live in an era now where the demand for technology solutions comes in at such a rate that as a governmental IT organization, for a variety of reasons, our ability to both create and to keep the supply, and when I say supply, human resources, cannot in any healthy proportion keep up with that rate of demand coming in. And so we don't like to say no in IT to our customers. And so what we have is, via staff augmentation, we're able to look at the different parts of IT. And this goes from the most infrastructure-based, data-based services and those skill sets to the most customer-facing of our skill sets. And so our business systems analysts, our business analysts, we have administration type roles that have to help us keep up with the running of IT as a business. And so what we look to do there is staff augmentation means then how do we have the ability, create the ability, or try to balance the equation of supply and demand in terms of all the technology demands coming in. So that at a high level is the best way that I usually explain and teach it. Thanks.
Thanks. And what about Austin Energy and the opportunities? Do you at Austin Energy or CTM or even you, Melvin, have a lot of staff augmentation opportunities?
Yeah, I was just gonna mention about the non-tech. With how technology has shifted, you have a lot of non-tech people that can get involved in the ecosystem, the technology through things such as low code, no code developing, where a secretary can learn how to develop programs and programming to be able to go in and to help departments run efficiently, so they can pick up skill sets that allow them to be successful in that area. But as it relates to having positions, there are over 500,000 IT programming positions that are unfilled in our country now. In particular, here in Austin, there's a significant demand for sales position, technical sales. And you have to have an understanding of the Google, Microsoft platforms to be able to do those jobs. So there are many jobs that are out there that's available for individuals that know how to navigate software platforms in the technical sales arena.
Thank you. Thank you for that, Melvin. Go ahead, Al.
So, Blair, to add to that, and Melvin is right. He talked about the concept of low code and no code. And so if you look at, and I'll talk specifically about opportunities today in what we call the cloud world. So you hear about Microsoft, you hear about Salesforce, you hear about Workday. These are technologies that Melvin is right. This concept of low code and no code really begins to ask the question of technology transformation. Can we better find people who understand how to solve business problems? And how do you apply technology that we might bring into Austin Energy and help our business units or departments within Austin Energy solve business problems through the use of technology? So I can tell you, in my 35 years of being in IT, I have yet to hire a person with a computer science background. And the reason is, and I can tell you, my background is actually in economics with a master's in business administration and with kind of a focus on technology strategy and management, because ultimately in governmental IT, we are not Microsoft. We are not Google. We are not Oracle. We're not here to build those tools. Our biggest responsibility is to take from those tools, find the best people we can who have the ability, and to some extent, there is an aptitude question we ask in terms of how do you take the technology, how can you apply it through analysis skills to help your customer solve their business problem. So yes, technology is viewed as sexy. We are evolving to this world where it's moving very quickly. I mean, I can tell you as a data point, today, the average IT organization consists of 75% of what we call on-premise within our data center. That's where technologies run. 25% of our technology are technologies that are based out in the cloud. So when we talk about Microsoft, we run a platform called ServiceNow, which helps us run IT and helps our customers. Technologies like Workday, Salesforce, those are cloud technologies. But by the end of 2025, that number is going to flip, where the average IT organization will be 25% on-premise within a data center, 75% in the cloud, which means that there are opportunities out there with people with a processing, problem-solving business mindset through a lot of education that exists in many places to take the path of becoming a technologist. And I can tell you, I never meant to be a technologist 35 years ago. I started on a help desk somewhere somebody helped me figure out I had the aptitude to solve business problems using technology. And I still, 35 years later, am convinced, and especially when we talk about the underserved populations, of which I'm a proud first generation son of immigrants, there are multiple opportunities for people who are willing to be disciplined enough to go through, whether it's self-education. ACC runs a million wonderful programs. I've been working with Melvin going back almost 20 some years. In fact, I can tell you there are people from Melvin's organization who ended up coming all this in energy, who are now leading different parts of IT. And so, yes, the opportunity is there. And so as technology evolves, much less computer science, much more, can you help figure out how to solve business problems? Thanks.
All right, Chris, I want to jump in the conversation and have you kind of speak to that. And then we'll come to Tom after that. But Chris, tell us about like the opportunities, and do you see things, what kind of things do you see for people who aren't tech savvy or who aren't strong in tech? I know we talked about communications and project management. Can you speak a little bit to that to add to what Al and Melvin have been saying?
Yeah, and Al, I appreciate your illustration and description of Staff Aug. It was beautiful, and that's exactly what we use quite a bit of. And but you would ask kind of, what does Staff Aug look like? And I'm sure Austin Energy is pretty close to what we do, and it's significant. We get one time a year, every year, to ask for new staff, and we get minimal. There's a city budget to worry about. It's not something we can just spin up as technology changes. I think Melvin and Al both have spoken to how quickly technology changes. So Staff Aug is critical for us, both to make up for staff reductions. It's hard to hire right now. The country is going through a lot when it comes to hiring staff. Our vacancy rates are much higher than they've ever been. So Staff Aug is more critical now than it's ever been, just to meet basic needs. And then, of course, to meet one-off project needs, we bring in specialized resources for through these same avenues. So it's very, very important. And as I spoke earlier, the number of different departments that the city of Austin manages, the number of different types of businesses we touch, and I was talking about even in the utility, they have different lines of business, and throughout the city we have many, many different lines of businesses. So it's super critical for us to know what they do. So having business experience, and I'm a lot like Al, where I have an associate's in technology, but my undergrad is business. I have a master's in public administration. So I did not go the highly technical route because I think I saw where I wanted to go, and those skill sets are much more important. We can all learn the technology, but having that business sense is so important. So for when I'm looking right now for the non-technical, it's actually some of the things we look for a lot more than technical. Technical is a little easier to define as well. We use DIR, we go down the list and we say, hey, I need a developer, let's go find a developer. I need a database administrator, let's go find a database administrator. But what we're really looking at is the business. It's how do we run, Al mentioned IT as a business. So we really are looking for right now like data people. And you have to have a tech background in a lot of that, but not so much data science. It's, do you understand business? Can you go learn, even if you don't necessarily have a large background in utilities or development services? Can you go talk to a customer, understand what their needs are? Where are they hurting? Where can you help them grow? Utilizing technology, exactly like Al said, to solve a problem. That's really important for us. Is you need to have that experience to be able to go and talk to customers and really dig in, because a lot of times they're not going to know what truly is going to solve a problem. They know they've got an issue, and in some cases they don't even know they've got a problem. They say, hey, here's our processes. Let's talk about what we do every day. And with the right experience, the right mindset, the right technology background, you can make something more efficient, where they may think it's just the way it needs to work. It's worked this way for 20 years. I don't see a problem with it. No one's complaining about it. And we can spin up something quickly to solve a wild inefficiency. And we do that quite often. So that's an area where we wouldn't go out and look for that skill set that says, hey, can you go to this one department and fix this one problem? We want to find people who have experience solving problems, finding areas of inefficiencies and resolving them with, and a lot of times it is this new low code, no code. We don't want to be, at least at CTM, I really do preach, we're not going to be building these large applications. To Al's point, we're not developing these things. They've been developed before. We're not the computer science people. We're the business IT people. So those skill sets are really important. And a lot of times they come from a non-technical background. And what I've seen a lot of times is it's folks who are in any number of jobs, from administrative assistants to more on even like an engineering level. And they really get into the technology because it's helping them do their job. And then they grow that and they want to share what they've learned themselves. So a lot of times it's grown within them. The ability to learn technology couldn't be easier today than it's ever been. There doesn't have to be a formalized process. There's lots of free classes. There's Google, I think Melvin mentioned earlier. There's so many opportunities to learn. And so we see a lot of benefit in those folks who come from a non-traditional background. They didn't go get a 4-year degree in computer science and then get into programming and then move on. They started with the business, and the technology part became an interest and then became a primary driver of where they can provide value. Those are the folks that really have served us well.
Thank you for that, Chris. Okay, Tom, let's pull Tom back into our stream if we can. And Tom, do you have your camera on and your mic on? Let's see. All right, Tom. Okay, you're back here with us. Okay. So what do you think your biggest needs are? Is there anything out there that as far as technology, and you said code and no code, meaning you know how to code, write computer code, and you don't know how to computer code. What are some of the biggest needs that you guys have out there, and the biggest opportunities for the business owners that are at home drinking their coffee watching us now?
Well, from first of all, to go back to what Chris and Al were both talking about as far as staffing and ITSACing and staffing resources. Thank you, Chris, for your compliment about looking at DIR's set of ITSAC staffing contracts, because that's a good avenue for customers such as yourselves of DIR to be able to fill some of those staffing roles as they are needed by not only you, one of our customers, but by all of our eligible customers. So that's one of our goals, is to help meet our customers' needs through those staffing contracts. And we've also included recently the internships category within those staffing services contracts. So we work in conjunction with Austin Community College, and those ITSAC contracts are now offering internships. So that's another good way to get people interested into an IT field, is through that internship program. So that's one way that DIR is helping to meet our customers' needs, not only from a staffing standpoint when it comes to IT, but also from product and service offerings. And that's where we work relationships with our vendor communities and encouraging them to respond to our solicitations where we are offering products and services for vendor responses within the scope of that request for offer. So we encourage vendors of all sizes to respond to our solicitations, not only the small business owners, but yes, we do have contracts with the major corporations set in place as well. So for example, if there is a small company that does, say, for example, comprehensive web development services, maybe they're a web development company. We encourage those types of vendors to respond to our offerings because we take our customers' needs very seriously. So we need to hear from our customer community, and that includes state agencies, local governments, higher ed, and school districts and other eligible entities. What are your IT product and services needs? What are your entities needing? Because chances are, If you're needing it, someone else is probably needing it too, or someone else is looking for that product or that IT service that we need to make sure that we have available to all of our eligible customers. So we take our customers' information in mind when we do develop solicitations for product and services offerings. Then we encourage the vendor community or those interested in being considered for a DIR contract, respond to this solicitation if your products and services are a fit. That's a good way to be considered for a DIR contract. So meeting our customers' needs, making sure that we can be a resource to meet our customers' needs from an IT standpoint. And we do that on many levels, whether it's cybersecurity needs, computer hardware needs, software needs, training needs, whatever that need is, that's what we position ourselves to do, is to build those relationships with our customer community and also with our vendor community as well.
Thanks for that, Tom. I appreciate it. Okay, we're going to go ahead and get ready to start wrapping up. And the last question that I have for everybody here is, if you could just give me tips and advice on how to do business and how to engage with your organizations for the people that are watching. Melvin, I'll start with you, and then we'll go to Al, Chris, and then Tom.
Melvin, you're on mute if you can hear us.
I'm sorry. I was saying that it's really important to understand how to engage a customer, especially when you're trying to provide your offerings to in a space. So you have to have a niche. People want to do business with people they are familiar with and they're comfortable with. And so we always have to understand, what is the value proposition that you're able to provide to that customer. But you have to also do your due diligence to find out about what the customer needs are. And I think that here in Austin, with all the explosion of technology and things in this area, I think it's just going to be tremendous opportunities for business opportunities for people that's looking to get into the tech space. I think there are opportunities, and I really would like to see how government, through the DIR, as Tom indicated about the internships, as Austin continues to become more and more of a, it's hard for people to afford to live here. How do we create those pathways for underserved communities so that they're able to get into those jobs without having to go and get a 4-year, say, programming degree? And see, how do you use public government to be able to help people develop skills, whether that be through DIR contracts, whether that be through direct internships that I know that Austin Energy and the city CTO have to allow people to kind of get into jobs. But it could be many things. I could go on and on, but those would be the things from an advice standpoint that I would give businesses who are trying to break into the marketplace and find a niche, and use all of those tools and resources like DIR and understanding, as Al indicated, as well as Chris, in terms of what they're looking for. That's how you first start in seeing how do you create a real niche and value proposition.
All right. Thanks for that, Melvin. Okay, Al and Chris, and then Tom.
So yeah, I think Melvin really hit really well on a lot of the high points. I think, the key thing we look at is and I get a lot of calls. I can show you the folder of vendor potential calls I've gotten in my lifetime here. But I think, the key thing that I'm always looking for is, how well do they understand who we are, both as Austin Energy, and who the city of Austin is? Because there's a big difference in working with potential vendors in terms of those that are just fishing and hoping to catch versus those that I can tell have really done their homework. To some extent, it's almost like interviewing for a potential employee, because what we are looking for is, more times than not, to develop a partnership because our needs are such that very rarely do we have these very short-term needs like we used to back in the client server era. We now live in an era because of transformation that it's really important for me to get a feel that you understand who the city of Austin is and who Austin Energy is, because that starts to tell me your potential in helping me help our departments solve business problems. But there are more and more opportunities available, because Chris is right. And I've seen this pendulum swing from this centralization to decentralization. We have more companies that have moved into Austin in the last 10 years that when I'm looking at even the employees I have today, they're really looking hard and asking their own question about what's best for them and their family. And I'm planning on losing more and more people, which means I have to think more programmatically. And where is it that I could potentially plug in people from, whether it's a managed service, whether it's augmented service, whether it's one-offs that I have to look for. But leaders in the city, technology leaders, now have to think a little more programmatically with an expectation and understanding that today's incoming generation are people that are more flexible, more agile. Look, I was born the last year of the baby boom, and I get that baby boomers are on their way out. We were the types that we were in office. We're okay with a set schedule. We're okay with going to in-person meetings. Well, that world is blown away now, thanks to the pandemic. There's a new mindset in terms of not just our end users, but in terms of the people who we need to look to in terms of today's IT operational folks, today's IT managers, today's IT executives, which when you look at the managers and the operational folks, well, those are tomorrow's potential IT leaders. And where today, a lot of IT leaders have to think very left-brained, tomorrow's IT leaders have to be more customer relationship, vendor relationship, financial management based, and more diplomatic in how they balance all of that. And so I think when you're looking at wanting to potentially do business with the city and with Austin Energy, understand who we are, understand the problems we're trying to help solve. So Melvin hit it right there. You're here to help us solve problems. So what's your value statement? That's a lot of what we're looking for. Thanks.
Go ahead, Chris.
Yeah, I agree. And I appreciate Melvin's perspective coming from a business owner. I loved hearing that you start out with understanding the business and doing a little research and doing a little work on your own. You know, Al mentioned his folder of potential vendors. It's amazing the number of calls, emails, and now LinkedIn hits that we all get. And I'm mostly shocked at the incredible percentage that are kind of ridiculous. I got an email this morning. The message started out, first name, comma, last name, or last name, comma, first. Do you have security issues that you need help with? Like, that's an absurd example of what we get all day, but that's what we get. And the next tier that we usually get, because this is kind of old school, it's, can we meet for a little while so you can tell me about your priorities? And then maybe I can find a solution to help you. I don't have time to tell 12 vendors a day my top priorities and my problems. Go do a little research, look online, go to our controller's website and take a look at what we're looking for. You can look at our solicitations all throughout the city. That's a great avenue to see what's actually happening right now. Take a look at you can look at every vendor we have, every contract we have, and those are opportunities for you. Even a single person with their own little company that they're self-employed and they're running their own little LLC, to smaller businesses who are looking to grow. Look at subbing off of these DIRs. Look at these potentials for, we're looking for a massive system. You're probably not going to compete with the giants when it comes to a software application, but there's more to putting forth a software application than just buying licenses for a software application. There's the integrations, there's the implementation, there's the project management, business analysis, there's communications. There's so much involved where we might not want the same company who we bought the platform from to do all of that work. There are people who specialize in these little niche areas. And I think those are fantastic opportunities for the smaller businesses in particular. And if you can get off a sub of a DIR, you don't have to be on DIR yourself, but go look at who is and build relationships, build networks. Melvin talked about, getting kind of in there and getting to know these businesses. I'm going to listen to somebody who is referred to me from someone I trust much more than just a cold call or an email or a LinkedIn hit. That's going to inspire me to have a little confidence in I'm not just wasting my time. We don't have a lot of our time to give. So we want to make sure that, and I'm sure Al's on the same page, when we do spend time with a vendor, it's for something that we think they're going to provide something that may work for us. And most of the time it won't. We can't just every day spin up a new contract and bring in new people. But I think the opportunities are there. Everything in the city is wide open to the world. We're very, very transparent on what we do. So do some research, take a look, and network. There's a huge community of small businesses out there, and a lot of affinity groups, things like that, like Austin Women in Technology. And there's InnoTech is coming up in April. Lots of opportunities to really get into these smaller business arenas that are focused on technology. And a lot of times they hit up local government and state and county as well. We all talk quite a bit. So, getting in there and learning what's going on in these environments is really important.
Thank you, Chris, for that. I appreciate that. That's a lot of good information. And Tom?
Well, Chris kind of hit on my points about the relationship building and being a subcontractor opportunities on DIR contracts, because, hearing what Melvin, Al, and Chris have already discussed, a lot of what DIR does is relationship building. And that includes knowing what our customers' needs are. What are the state agency needs? What are the local government needs? What are the school district needs? And so on and so forth. We want to be that IT resource in our field and build those relationships with our customers and help our customers, meet their IT needs where we can step in and help. But it's also relationship building with the vendor community as well. And that includes things like educating vendors on how to be considered for a DIR contract. You need to respond to one of our solicitations. You need to, keep an eye on the DIR website. And we post our solicitation schedule about a year in advance so the vendor community can see what we have in the pipeline and what we're going to be posting for vendor responses. To Chris's point, for every prime DIR contract holder now, if you're a smaller business and you're interested in subcontracting opportunities, build those relationships with those DIR contract holders and discuss subcontracting opportunities on their prime DIR contracts. Work to build that relationship. That gives you a little bit of familiarity of how the DIR contract operates. And then that can also open doors for other subcontracting opportunities for smaller businesses, and just open doors down the road. So a lot of it is just that relationship building. DIR needs to have that relationship with our customers and help them meet their needs. We need to have vendors responding to our solicitations and either as a prime or look at subcontracting opportunities on existing DIR contract holders' contracts. So that's important, the relationship building and getting involved.
Thank you, Tom. All right, everybody. Thank you so much, Chris, Melvin, Tom, and Al. I appreciate everything that you have told us today. Everybody you heard from the top. You heard relationship building. You heard do your homework. You heard networking. So with that, we are going to leave you. Go ahead and type any questions that you have for the panel in the chat, and we'll answer them shortly. Also, look for the attachment that's going to be on the platform with the links to a lot of the things that we have referenced here. My name is Blender Hill, and I'm grateful that you joined us today, and we hope that you learned a lot. Thank you, and enjoy the rest of the conference.